Hello everyone. So I figured yesterday we celebrated with masks and costumes, which represents the ability to flip in and out of different personas and outward presentation to show ourselves to the world a certain way. We could do that on Purim. We dress up showing that we realize how transient our outward portrayal is and how it's doesn't really tap into who we are in a more deep sense. So today, since the costumes are off, we're back to the way we typically present ourselves to the world. It should be more in line with who we are. There should be a harmony. There should be, when you sing two people in unison, that's the word. When you sing in unison, you're singing the same notes. In harmony, you're saying different notes that complement each other. Our costume might be a compliment to us. It might project something about us that we have inside that we want to portray to the world, and they might resonate nicely together. That's harmonious. But through the entire year, our main effort is to establish that unity, that unison rather, between our inward genuine thoughts and feelings and attitudes and the way we portray ourselves in the world. Where would be the most obvious example of where that's not the case, where the inside and the outside don't match up? Of course, that's the world of politics, which is nothing to do with Avodas Hashem, of establishing this unison between our inner life and our outer presentation, the mask that is us, this genuine presentation of ourselves, our soul unencumbered by our very constrictive ego. We make fun of that ego on Purim, and that's why it's such a celebration. It's so easy to allow ourselves to go out of it on Purim when everybody's in that same mode and everyone welcomes everybody else to celebrate together. Then we have all the masks in the form of different people, because when you have empathy for another person, their perception and their way of thinking is important to you. So in some sense, you're wearing the other people's masks throughout the entire year, whenever you encounter people. So Purim is the power to go beyond yourself in recognizing this idea that only superficially are we different from each other, but internally we have a much more direct connection. It's funny, I got criticism as to why I don't look into the camera on the video, because I'll be able to connect more with whatever audience is here. But it's very distracting because you're not seeing another person, you're seeing yourself, and that causes you to reflect on yourself, and it's really it's a limiting thing. So I'd rather speak words that come from the heart more and not have to. In other words, when you're in the zone, there's no mirror in front of you. If you're skating and you're playing hockey and you're in the zone and you score because you're not thinking about how to shoot the puck, when you go through life like that, in flow, other people call it, or in the zone, or connected, I think we would call it in Yiddishkeit. When you feel connected to Hashem, you're not as aware of yourself. So looking at a tiny phone with a picture of me is not going to be conducive for me to be able to go into flow, to be able to capture the moment and channel something that I feel is sincere. So less eye connection. I'm sorry. The technology will improve, I'm sure. And that won't be a factor somehow. So how is everyone today? Did they have a great Purim? I had a wonderful Purim. I did reach Ad Lo Yada. I reached the greatest heights of Simchas Purim, where you just totally go beyond. It didn't look so pretty necessarily. Not that I was so drunk. I wasn't. But I was really moved at the Farbrengen last night. I recorded it. I think it's still on for at least 24 hours, unless I decide to save it. So it was very inspiring, because Rabbi Wagner was speaking about different Maimarim that have affected his life, and he knows that are really powerful messages for people to absorb, teachings in Chassidus. And when you learn certain Maimarim or certain ideas you live with, it changes your entire way of looking at the world and your place in the world. One of the most powerful ideas I heard recently that has really affected my life is what Y.Y. Jacobson speaks about, I think he's quoting the Rebbe. He learns it from Korban Pesach. I'm not going to get into the whole drush right now, but the idea behind it is fascinating, that every single experience, I just saw a person hanged, a dummy hanged on a tree. Can you see that? That was pretty scary. It's not Halloween. I don't like to say that word even. Anyways, what I was talking about was Y.Y. Jacobson's discussion of this idea that on everything we encounter, that's a mission God sent us on. Oh, and I wanted to say the idea that's related to this, that greatness is the ability to act in a great way given any circumstance. So if a person gets splashed by a puddle when he's walking down the street, there is a way to respond to that with greatness. A great person, how would a king act? Would he freak out? Not the kings in our tradition. Our kings were great people, not narcissistic whiners and prima donnas. That's not what David HaMelech was or is. David HaMelech was a warrior, so his life was one with great passion in every area, and he was not frail and affected so easily by circumstance. That's on Purim, and you can see this on the Purim Farbrengens. When someone takes off Rabbi Wagner's hat and puts a funny hat on him, to him it doesn't affect him at all. His kavod is not something that he even identifies at that moment. Whereas other people who occupy positions and hold office in different areas, if something happens to them, they completely freak out. And they can't function. They're like, even men. But this is not a very masculine attribute. Obviously, the masculine approach to this has to be one of course, women also have to be able to be strong and know how to handle such, probably more so than men, because the kavod of women is more precious and more. The Torah recognizes the concerns of females with regard to embarrassment more than men, because their dignity is something that's much more sensitive to them, and that's a good thing. But lots of men these days embrace that quality of being very vulnerable to circumstance. So a real man, and it could be in real life problems, not just superficial things like now he's got to go home and change. That's annoying. But if a person, God forbid, is having difficulty making a living, that can affect his entire dignity. So a real man has to summon powers that exist within him. He may not know about it. He may not identify it. He may not think that he has the strength to bring it out. But that's what his beinunus is. That's why you contemplate ideas. That's why you learn about great people. That's why we have the figure, the character of David HaMelech, for example, one of the Jewish heroes, a tzaddik, to embody greatness in the world. That is our model, to model our own personalities on. So when we think like David HaMelech and we summon that strength that exists in us, maybe in much more subtle ways than the obvious greatness and magnitude of the personality of someone like David HaMelech, but we have greatness in ourselves relative to each person. They have to find that in them and draw that out and use that to face the world every day. I'm going to stop there because it's 9:36 and they might be davening at 9:30, in which case I have to catch up. So it was a small audience this morning, but it was fun. So enjoy it. Bye-bye.